episode of The Wealthy Boss Show. I am so excited for today's episode because I not only have an awesome guest on the show, Molly Beane, who is a huge advocate of self-care, but because this is the first time I've actually had an expert on to talk about reducing your toxins in your environment. And if you've been following me for a while at all, or if you're part of my Boss Body system, you know I'm a big advocate of making sure that the products that you use and what you surround yourself with are as natural as possible. And so I have someone to speak much more directly and much more expertly and much more professionally about the topic. Molly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And I just realized that I did not actually show us on the recording. So we'll edit that part out in the podcast, but hopefully the video version, hopefully that part was recording. I had to press a little button there. Okay, so I think we're good to go. So hopefully everyone can see our faces now that's watching the video. So Molly, tell us about your company, From Molly with Love.
So From Molly with Love is an all-natural, clean beauty brand. We focus on skincare, facial skincare, bath and body, and aromatherapy sprays. The business started about, I want to say like 16 months ago, something like that. Fairly new. We started off as a kitchen table business on Etsy, and now we're raising our first $1 million in venture capital.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's amazing.
You know, where we come from obviously is, we're very passionate about clean beauty, but as a brand, we're also very passionate about social justice. And I think that the brand narrative that we take, the approach that we take as promoting self-care as a radically feminist act, and talking about, I really believe that companies in the beauty industry have an opportunity to empower their customers instead of profit off of their insecurities. And so we're trying to do it differently. We're trying to really show very diverse types of people in our marketing and really talk about how resisting patriarchal beauty standards and harmful beauty standards, and then really taking time to care for yourself with all natural products and ingredients is really something that can help empower you and make you live a better life. And so that's what we're all about. And I think that difference maker is what has made us successful to this point.
People are ready for that. They're needing that. And I love that. And I think that's, value that you and I definitely share in common that is not always the case for our respective industries. I know we've already chatted a little bit about this, ahead of time through emails and such. These, as you said, these industries that have had kind of traditional, ways of doing things and expectations and kind of norms that they put out there that can often be unrealistic. I love, because it's something important for me within the fitness industry, is to start with that self-care, start with that self-love, and then obviously once you love yourself and once it's just a natural outpouring then that you want to take the best care possible of yourself. You want to do things that are good for you and good for your mind and good for your body and good for how you feel. So I love that, and you're right. That's definitely not been the traditional path through beauty or through fitness. So I love that we share that in common. So I'm curious, how do you become an expert in creating skincare products? It's not like something you go to college for, or with personal training or yoga, you go through certification. So how did you become an expert at creating skincare products?
That's a great question. So, I'm not an esthetician. I had a background. I did 10 years in PR and marketing. So it's a totally different background, but this really started for me as a hobby several years ago. I learned about all of the chemicals in the products that we use every day, not just our skincare, but our couches and our water bottles and, basically everything that we touch constantly all day, every day, and how I struggle with hormone issues and infertility. And so for me, reducing my exposure to those things was very, very important. because a lot of those chemicals are hormone endocrine or whatever disruptors. So
Absolutely.
I just started researching how to make my own skincare products because I've also been a bit of a skincare nerd.
Okay.
And that really increased 2 years ago when I went to Seoul on vacation and I
Hmm.
was exposed to the world of Korean beauty, which is like totally innovative and different and
Right.
unique and is taking the world by storm right now. So I've got a lot of that influence in my line. And so I started reading about cosmetic formulations and how to
Mhm.
create these things. And I did a lot of trial and error. And I was just making products for myself at first. And
Yep.
then I started giving them to friends and family. And my friends and family were like, this is really good. You should sell it. And I was like, I could never do that. So I had my own product line through trial and error before the business even started.
Okay.
Um, and that's sort of how this came to be through just doing a ton of research on my own. And then once it became my profession, really devoting myself to that.
Sure. That's awesome. When did you go full time with it? You said about 16 years. So you were, what made you make the leap then from it being a hobby? Was it a slow progression? Did you start to just leave it in and test the waters? Did you jump right in? I'm just curious for those of us that work day jobs while starting their side hustle. I'm kind of curious how you made that just switch.
It's so interesting that you ask because I didn't really have a choice. I had
Hmm.
to this was full time from the beginning because
Okay.
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was working in a day job that I felt unfulfilled in, and I always dreamed of starting my own business. I feel like I have entrepreneur in my blood,
Uh-huh.
but I couldn't figure out what that thing was going to be for me, and so I just stayed in my job where I was comfortable. And then I had a medical issue, so I actually went to rehab for alcoholism
Oh,
and drug
wow.
abuse because of like I suffer from PTSD and childhood
Okay.
trauma and
Mhm.
things that I wasn't dealing with. I ended up self-medicating to
Sure.
the point where it was a problem.
Yes.
So I went in on medical leave. I went to rehab and I lost my job through that process.
Mm, wow.
And so I had to figure something out, and it could have
Yeah.
been easy for me and probably more financially viable, to be totally honest, for me to go back to my career and just get a job, which I
Right.
could have done very easily. But when you have a life-changing experience like going to rehab, you
I'm
know,
sure that doesn't leave you quite the same on the other side.
no, it doesn't. And
Yeah.
I realize that life is too short for me to not do what I love. And if I'm
Hmm.
coming out of this healing experience
Hmm.
as a full person, I want everything that I do in my life after this point to contribute to that healing. And so I was healing myself spiritually, physically, mentally, and this was part of that. And
Wow.
also staying away from, trying to reduce my consumption of chemicals. And so
Hmm.
it all just kind of worked serendipitously. And it was very hard in the beginning to make ends meet, but I had no other choice. And I'm kind
Yeah.
of glad that it happened that way because I don't think that I would have had the courage to take the leap otherwise.
That makes sense. Yeah. So sometimes I feel like the biggest need is when the biggest breakthroughs and biggest blessings come through. So that is an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that.
Of
Well, I'm
course.
excited. And so we've kind of mentioned the chemical exposure and how that kind of comes into play with what you're passionate about. Obviously, you're passionate about beauty, but really your passion underneath that about making sure that we're beautiful on the inside and creating beautiful cells and tissues and beautiful inner states of being within our body and our health as well. One of the biggest pillars that I teach within my boss body system for busy entrepreneurs who are trying to have the best both physical and interior bodies that really serve them and make sure that they are showing up in the best way possible for all of their ambitions. One of those main pillars that is often the most surprising for my students is the principle of reducing exposure to toxins. So for this has such a range of impact, but a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people aren't talking about it. And I know from even a weight loss perspective, unhealthy tissue holds onto chemicals and vice versa. When there's a lot of, when there's excess body fat within the body, it becomes an unsafe harbor for chemical toxins, and the more toxins that we take in, the more difficult it is to be at a healthy weight for our bodies. So I'm curious from your perspective then, because this is something as a beauty expert that you, I'm sure, have a ton of knowledge around, and obviously with your expertise, you'll really understand the full impact that chemical exposure has. So why is reducing our toxic load such an important part of being healthy? And how prevalent are chemicals and other toxins in most drugstore typical beauty and products brands?
So this is so important and such a good question. It's something that as an average everyday consumer, we typically do not think about. And it's no criticism upon us as a society for that. I think that we just assume that because so many things in our country are regulated, that what we put on our skin is also going to be regulated, and that is simply not the case. So for your viewers, 60% of what you put on your skin gets directly absorbed into your bloodstream within minutes. And a test for that, and I encourage your audience to try this, is take a clove of garlic, slice it in half, and rub the sliced half on the bottom of your foot for 60 seconds or so. And within seconds of doing that, you'll taste it in your mouth. You'll taste the garlic in your mouth.
Wow.
Yes. So try it for yourself, because that really, when you have that experience, you'll realize, oh my gosh, what I put on my skin does matter.
Right.
Because it's traveling through my bloodstream.
Right? Wow.
Right. So when I learned that, I realized that what we put on our skin can actually either harm our health or help our health. And unfortunately, the cosmetics and skincare industry hasn't been regulated since 1938. So there's no FDA approvals on a lot of,
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you don't have to go through an FDA approval process. For example, my line, we are gearing up in 2018 to get our EU certification so that we can sell our products in EU markets. And that is extremely stringent and costly. I mean, on the brand's perspective, it makes my job a little bit more difficult, but I'm happy to do it because they are so much more stringent about what goes into their products, what chemicals are allowed into their products. Like in the US, I could spit in a bottle and sell it and not tell you. Like that's how, I mean, I'm serious. Not that anybody would ever do that, God forbid, but
they could.
That's how, that's how relaxed the regulations are. And so I think as an average everyday consumer, we go to the grocery store and we're buying our deodorant or our face cream, and we're just assuming that this is good for us. When in reality, it could be very, very detrimental to our health. There are chemicals like phthalates, parabens, sulfates, like things that everybody is sort of starting to become more familiar with, that we know are bad for us, that we know are hormone disrupting. These are, frankly, inexpensive ingredients that cause, say, your so my husband, the other day, we were washing our dogs, and we ran out of our dog shampoo. And so I busted out the Castile, however you say that, soap. And my husband was like, well, I don't like it. I don't think it does a good enough job because it's not lathering as much. And I was like, no, the lathering, it's working just fine. What you know as lather is created by chemicals that are very harmful for you. Like that's not a natural reaction of the soap that you're using. Like there are so many things that consumers are so used to, the way that products look and smell and feel, that are a result of unnatural processes that we don't need for our products to be effective. And for me, I am on like hormone replacement therapy. I'm 32 years old and in early onset perimenopause. And so, yeah, it's not great. But I find that my hormone levels like I just feel calmer, more relaxed. Like I don't
Mm,
have so many side effects of hormone imbalance when I am really paying attention to what I'm putting on my skin and my health. And I know that some of my customers have experienced that same thing too. So it is really important. But it also can be overwhelming for somebody
right.
who is just being exposed to this information. When you read the backs of ingredients, or I mean, skincare products or cosmetics, there are a lot of long names
Mm-hmm.
that are Latin. So it's hard for you to know which things are healthy versus which things
Mm-hmm.
are not healthy.
Yeah.
We are trying to provide some more information on that on our website and our blog just for education. But there are so many online resources that you can use as a consumer to know what to stay away from versus what not to stay away from. And I think that we're going to continue to see this trend grow exponentially over the next few years. And also, I just don't want to forget to say this, that people who are sort of starting to make that transition to clean, you know, um, clean products, whether that's beauty, personal care, cleaners in your house, whatever it is, don't get caught up at first in being too perfect about it. Like,
Right.
I know friends of mine who like threw out thousands of dollars of makeup, and I'm like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, don't do that. Like,
Right.
slowly transition it out. Like, there's no need for that, because I am a huge fan of not letting the perfect get in the way of the good. And
That
all
is
of this,
so
like,
true.
yeah, like if you use a serum that has parabens in it, your one time using it is not going to make enough of a difference. Um, that it's going to harm your health.
Mm-hmm.
What this is that these toxins build up in your system over a period of years of
Okay.
constant repeated exposure at low levels. And
Right.
so what you're looking for is to, over a long period of time, reduce your exposure to these chemicals, because unfortunately it's impossible for us to totally eliminate them.
Right.
So that's something I think that's important to keep in mind for your audience who's trying to
Yeah.
be healthy.
I love that. And it kind of aligns too with how I teach like fitness principles and nutrition principles is if we have any type of fear, like, oh my gosh, I've got to do like all this stuff at once. And we tend to not want to do any of it. So I love that you take kind of that, not the scared, like, oh my gosh, you're going to die tomorrow if you don't do it. But can we start swapping out once your products run out? Can we start, bringing things in? And always keeping in mind that balance and that sense of like not getting stressed out over our health, because we know stress is unhealthy too, right? So we always want to keep that kind of in balance. So I love that. So I think that's so fascinating that you found like you can just tell yourself that you're calmer. And I think for a lot of my listeners, that is like they never would have connected like the moisturizer that they're using with their mood. Do you have some examples? I know you mentioned earlier that you've had some other customers who have had some similar experiences. Can you share just a couple of those experiences where they had such just a kind of a breakthrough either in their skin, their physical appearance, or maybe some of those less related type of symptoms or areas of our health that they might not have even expected?
I have three examples that are different from each other that I'd like to share quickly. One, I had a customer who also has similar hormone issues,
Mm-hmm.
and I did actually a consult with her. She bought like almost our entire line. So you don't have to do that, by the way, but um, I sat down with her and really helped her develop a regimen, and she said that like her hormones evened out like almost within like a week of switching
Ooh.
from her old stuff. Like she felt so much better. When you have hormone issues, there's so many, it affects you in every way. It's
Mm-hmm.
brain fog, it's hot flashes, it's, any woman who's gone through menopause or perimenopause can relate, but it's awful. It impacts your ability to work, to sleep, to do all kinds of things. And so when you can feel when your hormones start to come back in balance, and it's like, oh, I can breathe again. So that's one example. Another example is a customer of mine who didn't really use skincare products at all. She was more of a tomboy, and she was really attracted to the concept of using clean beauty products and using them in a routine to carve out some time for self-care for herself every day. And so
Nice.
she developed this regimen of like, before, obviously she hopped in the shower, brush her teeth and like that, brush her hair, and that was it. Now she's like doing a face mask in the morning, and she's carving out this 30-minute period for her to take her shower and blast her music and use her face products and feel like a goddess. And she said that literally, that like that little routine has, no joke, changed her life, changed
Oh,
the way she
wow.
sees herself, changed her attitude, changed how she works and how effective she is in the morning. And so
Wow.
I think that using products very intentionally for self-care, I think is really, really important. And then the third example is just in how, you know, a lot of people reach out to me and they say, well, I don't use natural products because they just don't work as good.
Yeah.
And I have so many like anecdotes to refute that. So many of my customers that were using high-tech skincare products with all kinds of like weird like stuff in it, they switched over to our line or products from our line that are very simple, that maybe only have one ingredient or 4 ingredients. And their skin has never looked better. They've never looked younger. They, you know, it's like either their skin cleared up or it just looks healthier and fresher, because we don't need all of the things that companies will sell you into believing that you need. Oftentimes, the simpler solution is better and the more natural solution is better. So those are the examples that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love it. So let's talk then, let's start to get into the nitty gritty of your product lines. I'm going to grab, so if you're watching the video version on YouTube or Facebook, I started with 2 products from her, the Glow Juice, hopefully you can see, I'm holding it the right way, and, oh, gotta turn the other way, and the beauty oil. So I just started using these, and oh my gosh, I love them. I've tried a lot of natural products, so I might be maybe different from some of your customers. I've tried a lot, and I'm always experimenting to see like what's better than some, you know, what's better, what's the best, what do I love the most. And this is definitely at the top of my list of products I've tried. I'm definitely going to be trying more. The beauty oil I'm obsessed with.
Yes.
Like trying to find different ways to use it. And I just, my skin instantly, and I was already on natural products. So the fact that, I mean, I think any natural product is going to be better than an unnatural product, but I do think that there are some that are better than others, or just maybe that work, you know, for certain people. And I could tell an instant improvement in my own skin. Like it was just so much brighter, and I feel like my fine lines are a little bit less intense, but overall it just, like, I feel like Glow Juice was an accurate term. My skin really has been glowing, so I love that. I really was excited to see just the effects. I definitely am going to be purchasing more myself. Tell us more about your product line, what specifically you have, and what some of your favorite products are.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned before, and thank you for the kind words, I always love to hear that. So we have facial skincare, bath and body, and aromatherapy products. So for the facial skincare, right now we have our what I would call like our most basic product line. And the goal of this is to be accessible to as many people as possible.
Okay.
So in this early stage of our company, first of all, like our pricing is very fair. I think with a lot of clean beauty products, they're unnecessarily expensive. They maybe have very high-end packaging, and I think our packaging is pretty nice.
I like it.
But
simple and minimalistic and clean, right?
Yeah. But I believe in making this stuff accessible to as many people as possible, while also still feeling special when you use it. So our pricing is very specific, but also in terms of accessibility, this product line that we have out now is good for almost every type of skin. So all of the products that you use are going to work in some way for all types of skin. Now, if you have oily skin or dry skin, you may use them differently.
Okay.
But you'll be able to use everything in our line. As we, I mentioned that we're raising venture capital right now, and we are scaling our business. We're kind of in that growth period between kitchen table to on the shelves in national retailers. So in that in-between period, we are really looking to add new products in 2018 that are targeted solutions. The Glow Juice line was a start to that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have eventually products that are just for your oily skin people versus your mature skin people versus your dry skin people. But right now, everything can be used by all skin types. We draw a lot of inspiration from obviously nature and the elements. And so that alchemical feel is such a big part of our brand. And so I am obsessed with Korean skincare. And so some of the things that Korean skincare, what they're doing over there, that's different than what's in the US market. I like to take bits and pieces of that. So like, for example, we have a product in our line that's called the Sea Kelp Bioferment Essence.
Mm-hmm.
And many people in the US rather, haven't heard of an essence, but it's like a liquid serum. It's an additional opportunity to deliver nutrition into your skin, but it also pH balances your skin and preps your skin to better receive anything that you're going to put on after it. So you would use it after a cleanser or after your cleanser and toner. But before your serums and your moisturizers and your oils. And a lot of people find that when they start using an essence, they have, that's when they see the biggest change in their skin. And so that's a typically Korean product. I created an essence for our line that has the same active ingredients as creme de la mer, which retails for $400. And so I like to say it's like La Mer and K-Beauty had a baby. And I did that because I wanted to make a point about all of these super expensive products don't need to be out of reach for you.
Right.
And so you can have the best of the best for a reasonable price. Now, it is our most expensive, item in the line, but, but still it's a reasonable price for what you get. So that's sort of an example of like the angle that we try to take. Like the beauty oil that you just showed was one of our most, it's our best selling product, and it's super simple. It's literally just a special combination of different oils, natural oils that are really high in vitamin content. So when you talk about, and that's what the Glow Juice line is all about. It's a vitamin C line. It's a brightening line. So when you have those vitamins that are coming into your skin, they are reducing free radical damage. They're helping you turn over your skin cells faster. They're helping lighten dark spots and overall give your skin a more glowy, vibrant look. So like one of the things, this is a fun tip. So I love makeup. And so sometimes, and as I am getting older, I'm seeing changes in my skin. And so I can't wear like full coverage foundation the same way that I used to when I was in my 20s. So I will mix the beauty oil, like just a couple of drops into my foundation, and like even use it as a highlighter almost on my cheekbones. Like you can use it to sheer out your foundations. You can use it on your pimples. You can use it on your acne scars. You can use it. I'm using it to lighten up some sunspots on my chest. Like there's so many different uses, and we need to do a better job as we grow. And I have more time and resources of educating our customers about all of the many uses for these products. But that's what's so amazing about them.
I love that.
Yeah, and then for all you yogis and meditators out there, we have chakra sprays, and we have that are amazing for aromatherapy and meditation and just scenting your home. We have a yoga mat cleaner spray. We have our white sage smudge spray, which is inspired by the Native American tradition of energy clearing and smudging. That is a bestseller of ours as well.
I'm going to have to try that. My husband and I have started doing sage ceremonies together intermittently throughout our home. But a spray would be able to take advantage of the concept much more frequently and easily, and probably a little bit more safely too.
Yeah, it's amazing for people who don't like to burn sage. And also, like, I have a customer who uses it. She travels a lot for work. She's a consultant. She's always on the road. And so she'll use it in her hotel rooms. Like, it just makes her feel more at home and more just a better energy when she's on the go traveling. So there's so many amazing products that we have. Another one is our deodorant, which is a different type of natural deodorant that's infused with probiotics to help it be more effective. So anyway, I am over the moon about our line. We're working on some pretty exciting things for next year. And yeah.
Awesome. And I don't think I realized even that all of your current products can be used by anyone. I love that because I feel like, sometimes I get overwhelmed with any type of, whether it's cosmetics or hair or skin, I get overwhelmed. And so, I don't want to buy a ton of stuff I don't need and I don't know how to put it all together. So I love that all of your products can be used by anyone. And, men need skincare as well. We have Wealthy Boss listeners who are men, and all these products are equally as important for men, not only for their own physical appearance, but as you said, making sure that they are putting things in their body that are super, super healthy and going to help them feel their best too.
So for men, that's interesting that you make this point because, and this is some content that we're actually working on right now for 2018 that I think will really help our customers like you who maybe get overwhelmed. So an example is like, if you're what I would call like a minimalist with your skincare or an essentialist, and many men would be in this category, obviously, because they're not spending, a lot of them are not spending typically, an hour a night on their skincare.
Sure.
What your lineup and your regimen is going to look different from somebody who wants a complete skincare solution, right? I'm more of somebody who wants to spend time and energy on my skincare. So like you start with your essentialist line, and that, may be a cleanser, toner, moisturizer, and that may be your day-to-day. But then on days where you want something a little bit more extra, you can add things into that. And so we try to have products that are multitaskers. There's actually one product that's our argan multitasking oil, and that is a big seller among men because they can use it as a beard oil. They can use it on their face. They can use it to moisturize their body. They can use it on their pimples. Like if they get a breakout, like there's so many different uses for it. So I am trying to think of how we can kind of promote that modularity, if you will, of the products.
I love that. That's awesome. Let's talk specifically about deodorant, because this is where I feel like a lot of people can kind of get tripped up, and I have not tried your deodorant yet, so I'll need to give that a try. When I keep giving up on natural deodorants because I've found several people that I've tried to turn on to natural products have had the same experience, that I'll try one and it might work for a while, and then I get a really, really bad rash. So why is that? I know other people have gone through that as well. I used to recommend Primal Pit paste, and for some people that's still, like my husband who usually has sensitive skin, he has great results with that. But I actually started getting a rash after using it for a little while, and so did a couple of my customers that I had recommended it to. Why does that happen? Is that, and are there solutions? Is there something different about your deodorant that could be, maybe more appropriate for people with sensitive skin? Is there a way to adjust to it? That's one thing that I feel like I know I want to be on a natural one, but I keep having bad experiences with it. So I'd love to, if you could shed a little light on that.
This is one of my favorite things in the entire world to talk about. So I'm glad that you asked. So natural deodorant. So think about this, like for however many years, I've been using deodorant for over 20 years.
Right.
So that's 20 years of putting aluminum and parabens and all kinds of other nasties into my armpits, and specifically right next to my lymph nodes. Sure. And for women, my breast tissue that is very sensitive, right? And so that stuff stays in that area in your skin. So when you switch to an all natural deodorant, you're going to have a deep detox period. You will be physically detoxing all of those chemicals out of your armpits, and it will take a while. So the reason that a lot of people get rashes, well, there's two reasons. One, sometimes people are sensitive to baking soda. Baking
Mm-hmm.
soda is in almost every natural deodorant because it's
Mm-hmm.
effective.
Right.
Now there are we have baking soda in our deodorant, but it's a very small amount. It is
Okay.
the least amount that I felt we could get away with to
Mm-hmm.
still have the deodorant be effective, but
Right.
non-irritating.
Okay.
Um, but the other reason is because that's what happens when you detox. You have a pit detox period. So,
Interesting.
pit detox period, when I say that, there's nothing, you don't have to put charcoal on your armpits. There's no special thing. When I say pit detox, it's just literally the first couple of weeks after you switch to a natural deodorant.
Okay.
Um, and if you are a person where you cannot go through a pit detox and you're not willing to stomach that, the only thing I have to say is switch to an aluminum free deodorant.
Okay.
So even if you can't go 100% all natural, there are varieties in your grocery store that say aluminum free, and those are going to be so much better for you than what you're currently using. To me, switching the natural deodorant is the most important thing that you can do for
Mm-hmm.
your health, because again, you are putting that near lymph nodes, near
Right.
sensitive tissue, and those are hardcore heavy metals that
Right.
you are putting into your body. So again, because they're hardcore, you're going to go through a detox period. I typically tell people that it can last 2 weeks, but everybody has
Okay.
different body chemistry and everybody is different. Mine lasted 4.5 weeks.
Oh
My
wow.
husband didn't have one at all.
Yeah, mine hasn't
So,
either. Okay.
um, so it's everybody's different. My pit detox, I smelled like a barnyard animal, and
Right.
I had my armpits turned colors, different colors.
Mm-hmm.
They chafed. I
Yes.
had
Yeah, that's what I
rashes.
had. Yep.
Um,
And it
it
got
goes
better though.
away. It
Interesting.
goes away. So most people don't know that. Most people think, oh, this doesn't work or it's not jiving with my skin, because they're
Right.
not giving it enough time to
Okay.
actually go through its natural process. The only way that I could stomach this, well, I am the boss, and at that point, when I started my pit detox, worked from home.
Right.
So I could afford to be smelly a little bit. There are ways that you can sort of mitigate that if you actually have to go out into the world and be a real human. But
Right.
um, the way that I got through it is knowing that I was making a crucial decision for my health, and
Okay.
knowing that my body was doing something miraculous. That pain and that irritation was actually a beautiful process that my body was undertaking to rid itself from heavy metals. Um,
Interesting.
yes. So after my detox period was over, I am clean and fresh as a daisy every day.
Wow.
And the deodorant actually works better than any other deodorant that I've ever tried.
Oh, that's so
Our
interesting.
deodorant in particular is ultra effective and is, again, the top three best sellers: the beauty oil, the white sage smudge spray, and the deodorant.
Okay.
Um, because we use probiotics,
Mm-hmm.
and every ingredient in our deodorant is an active ingredient, meaning every single thing that we put in there, like we're not putting in extra stuff for appearance or for,
Mm-hmm.
it actually doesn't really look that great, because it's just totally the natural stuff, only what you need. Um, and so everything in it is active, but the most active ingredient is the probiotics. And the reason that
Okay.
that's effective is because when you sweat, everybody thinks of sweat as being smelly, but the sweat isn't actually smelly. What
Mm-hmm.
smells is the bad bacteria in your sweat. So
Okay.
the sweat is actually a carrier to detox bad bacteria out of your body. So when you
Ah.
smell
Interesting. I never knew that.
after a workout, you can rejoice in how magnificent your body is by knowing how to effectively and efficiently detox your body from that bad stuff. So the probiotics, what they do
Wow.
is they counteract the bad bacteria in your armpits. They balance the microbiome on your, little skin area, and they help you smell fresher and cleaner.
Interesting. That is so interesting.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm excited to give this a try again. I think also by switching to, like you said, a lower baking soda concentration, that will probably minimize the irritation. So I think that's an important distinction that you made as well, because some people do better or worse with baking soda. So we need to test that.
Well, and again, everybody's body chemistry is different. Like my husband, so I have customers who rave over my deodorant, like they won't ever use anything else ever again. I'm
Mhm.
one of those people. My husband can't use it. Like
Interesting.
everybody is different, and deodorant is one of those. Like I will be totally like, yes, I want to sell you deodorants,
Yes.
but I am going to always be open and honest about the fact that my deodorant isn't going to work for every single person. Primal
Mhm.
Pit Paste will work for some people and not for
Yes.
other people. So if you try a natural deodorant that doesn't jive with you, A,
Yes.
give it 2 weeks. B, if
Okay.
after that period of time it's still not working for you, try something else.
That's so good. That's such good advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome. What are some other product lines that you love for the product for your products that you don't make? So whether that's hair or cosmetics or cleaning products, what are some other product lines that you've fallen in love with that you've
Yes,
recommended?
absolutely. I love RMS for makeup. So makeup in
Oh, I've
particular,
never heard that one.
there's so many amazing, beautiful, clean makeup lines out there right now that you can try. Um, RMS, Well People, Lily Lolo, um, gosh, there are so many different ones. If you go to websites like the Detox Market,
Mm-hmm.
Folane, Credo Beauty, those are 3 websites that only sell clean and natural cosmetics and skincare products.
Okay. And I'll put this in the show
Detox,
notes for people too.
yeah, and the Detox Market carries one of our products, and you'll find all kinds of beautiful skincare and specifically makeup and color cosmetics that you can use. Um, Products that I like that for makeup that are more mainstream but
Mm-hmm.
cleaner than most
Mm-hmm.
are Glossier and Tarte
Okay.
and
I like Tarte.
Bite Beauty. They're not 100% natural, but they're for the most part going to be free of parabens. They're cruelty free. They're going
Right.
to have less of the nasties. And so I always recommend those for folks who want something that's kind of tried and true that they know what they're getting.
Yes.
Um, and then for hair care, um, so I am a bottle blonde and I dye it myself. And so I like to use Madison Reed hair
Mm-hmm.
color. They are more natural than your standard stuff that you're
Okay.
going to get at a
Awesome.
hair salon.
Yes.
I love using Shea Moisture for hair and body
Okay.
in the shower. Like we don't currently carry a body like a body wash or
Mhm.
shampoo or conditioner, which we will be in 2018. We just don't
Oh,
have it
okay.
right now. We haven't done it because it's really hard to do well,
Got
and
it.
it's hard to do it without palm oil,
Yeah.
which is extremely controversial and
Mhm.
harmful for the environment and animals. Yeah, I love Shea Moisture. Radha is another one that
Okay.
has, but they're like very high end. Um, and a little bit more pricey. Shea Moisture, you can pick it up at CVS. Um, and then in terms of cleaning products, like household products, you have to be very careful because, like I have so many friends that swear by Mrs. Myers, but like Mrs. Myers is filled with gross
Mhm.
stuff.
Wow.
I'm always going to recommend Dr. Bronner's soap.
Mhm.
I'm always going to recommend, like typically like seventh generation is pretty
Yeah.
good. Um, and you can find a lot of healthy stuff. I like the website iherb.com.
Oh, cool. I've
Um,
heard that one.
yeah, it's sort of like an online natural CVS, like you can get
Awesome.
facial skincare and cosmetics, but you can also get cleaning supplies and vitamins.
Nice.
And yeah, so those are the things that I recommend. There's so many good resources. There's so many good blogs and YouTube channels that are devoted to this type of content. So if you're somebody who's curious and wants to learn more, there's a wealth of information out there for you.
I love that. Let's talk a minute about the cruelty-free component. So I know that values are very important to you in your business, and a lot of times I feel like the eco-friendly and the low toxin type of product lines also have this care for the earth and this consciousness about them. And as we take better and better care of ourselves, we want to be able to extend that out into the world and take care of the world and the people and the animals that inhabit it. What have you learned about animal testing by being an insider in the beauty industry? That's one of those other things that I think people just don't realize the prevalence or the just how bad it can be with a lot of the major drugstore lines. Do you care to share a little bit about what you've learned about animal testing and why you don't do it with your products?
Well, I mean, I think that most people are aware of, animal testing can be very cruel.
Mm-hmm.
It also can be not as cruel, depending on what's being tested and, the methods and other things. What I do know is that some brands aren't cruelty free because certain countries require you to test on animals.
Yes, I love
Um,
that.
and it was a no-brainer for me. I'm never going to test on animals. Like, it's not necessary. It
Mm-hmm.
truly is not
Mm-hmm.
necessary. Other than the fact that some brands can't sell in certain countries if they don't. So, and maybe for like really high tech types of skincare, like new skincare solutions, like, that you may want to, some brands may say, well, those sorts of things we don't want to put on humans. But for me, if it's like, if you can't test it on a human, then you shouldn't be selling it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all of our products are tested by humans, and when we do new product development, we oftentimes will take a sampling of some of our most devoted customers and give them the opportunity to be product testers if they wish, in
Right.
exchange for like, they'll get the product for free, and then they just have to give us their feedback on it.
Right.
Um, we also have, it's a small team that we have over here, but we'll have the team try things. Like, I like to make sure that we're testing our products on folks with all different types of skin
Awesome.
types, so that I know how that skin type is going to
Mm-hmm.
react before I start to sell it. But to test on animals is unnecessary and it's cruel. It's also, especially for new brands, it's costly,
Mm-hmm.
and just, it's not necessary. So why
Yeah.
do it? So we did get certified cruelty free by PETA, and we are also technically cruelty free and vegan on
Mm-hmm.
every product except for our Nourish face cream and our probiotic deodorant are the only ones that are not completely vegan.
Got it.
That's because they use beeswax.
Got it.
Um, but yeah, it's
Yes.
I it's not necessary, and
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna see it more in the big brands
Mm-hmm.
than you will with smaller brands. And I think that as this movement that we're a part
Mm-hmm.
of continues to grow, we're going to see less and less and less of the animal testing.
That's the hope. I love that. Thanks for sharing your take on that. As we wrap up, there have been so many good things that you've had to share. This is probably going to be one of our longer interviews because I just feel like that I want to absorb all your good wisdom and I want to share that with my wealthy bosses. But I can't end without asking about your own self-care practices. So I know self-care is huge for you. It's something we talk about a lot on the Wealthy Boss Show. So other than, of course, your skincare regimen, what are some of your favorite ways to practice self-care as a busy entrepreneur? Because every entrepreneur, every listener of the Wealthy Boss Show knows what it's like to start a business and feel like you have no time for yourself. So how do you make practicing self-care a priority as a busy entrepreneur?
This is a particularly good question for me now, because I am in the busiest part of my year, and my business has grown hundreds of percents in the last year, and we're raising money, and so it's really busy right now. I can sometimes find myself working 18-hour, 20-hour days.
Yeah. Wow.
And so for those of you who are in that same boat, self-care may seem impossible, there
Mhm.
are days when I have to remind myself, like, take your 10 minutes to meditate,
Okay.
or take your 20 minutes. For me, like doing my makeup in the morning, I don't do my makeup every day, but that to me is like my time for myself, my 25 minutes. Same thing with the skincare routine at night. Like that is non-negotiable part of my day. That
Okay.
is my time to shut the door, and I don't have to deal with my husband or my dogs or my email. Um, Something that I'm super passionate about is that self-care looks differently for everyone, and that,
I'm glad you said
like,
that.
it's interesting. Like, I would listen to these podcasts and watch these videos and read blog posts about everybody's different morning routine, and I felt so inadequate because I
Mhm.
didn't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning and
Right.
write morning pages and do a 7-minute workout and drink a bulletproof coffee and then have some bone broth like that. It just, to me, like, no. Like, I
Overwhelming, right?
I am laying in my bed until the last possible minute, scrolling on my phone, checking email first thing, and don't you dare make me feel bad about it.
Right.
Like, like that I'm so super passionate about. And so whatever self-care looks like for you is fine. Also, I believe that self-care can be woven into things that you're already doing. So like, you
Mhm.
have to take a shower,
Yeah.
like you might as well like make that an experience, a treat for yourself, like blast some music, or like tell your naked body that you're sexy, like, whatever it is that you have to do. If you don't have any other time in the day, there are things that you can do to make your day a little bit more special. Another pivotal part of self-care, especially for women, is the ability to set boundaries and say no when you
Mhm.
mean to say no,
Mhm.
and to know that you need that time for yourself, even if you have kids and other responsibilities, because we so oftentimes do not put ourselves first, which is why I say self-care is a radically feminist act.
Right.
So for you, self-care might be letting yourself eat the damn cake and
Yep.
take a nap. For somebody else, it might mean actually making it to the gym and
Right.
eating a salad. Like,
Yeah. And it might be the same person on different days based on what they need, right?
yes, I encourage people to experiment with adding in different techniques during things that they would already be doing, and experiment with a bunch of different things and just see what sticks.
I love that. Well, Molly, this has been such an incredibly helpful episode. It's been fun. I am so glad we brought you on this show. How can listeners best get started if they want to start experimenting with your products?
So definitely visit our website. It's frommollywithlove.com. I always point people to, we've got a travel skincare set that is $49.99, and you get four, really generous sizes of our most popular skincare products. Some of them are
Awesome.
full size. So you get to try like an essential routine right out the box, and you can fly with our products.
Oh, perfect.
And they're in
Fabulous.
TSA friendly sizes. And so I think that's the best way to try out the line. I also recommend that people follow me on Instagram at From Molly with Love and check out everything that we have to offer. And yeah.
Perfect. And of course, I'll be linking to all those in the show notes as well. So you don't have to remember those. You can just head on over to wealthyboss.com/blog, and I will list all this out in the show notes. Molly, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too.